Did the red light come on?
Okay, great.
Welcome to week 2. How's everybody doing?
Good. Average.
Average, I want to hear excellent. Okay, so
We're going to pass around the attendance sheet, make sure everybody signs it. It gets to all the tables and stuff.
Thank you.
Start over here. There's a couple other, there's a one-page form with 2 halves of evaluation on the top, and on the next slide I'll show you what's on the bottom. But this form, there's also a clipboard up there that says sign up to meet with Dave. That should be pretty self-explanatory. The times are there, and it's for this the entire week. So if you're working on any kind of project, you should meet with me so you can get more information. And for students who are working on 1 or 2 credit projects, it's important for us to get on the same page as far as what project you're working on and what you're going to do. I sent out an email to help you a little bit with that information this afternoon. Okay, this is the second part of the form. What I typically do before the guest lecturer comes on is I talk about one of these short topics. So you get to choose which topics you like to hear. And if your favorite topic isn't on there, just write it in and I'll do my best to come up with a 10 or 15 minute presentation on that. Okay? So there's a lot of students working on 1 and 2 credit projects this year, way more than previous years. There's lots of options for what to do. You can research an assistive technology topic, you can do a paper design, you can do a work of art, you can do a video. I talked about aftermarket aesthetic for products on the market. You may want to review the accessibility of certain products. You may want to interview a person with a disability and do something for them. Okay. But the important part is for you to come to me with a bunch of ideas that we can review and I can approve and we can settle on so that you can get started working on your projects. It's important to get started early, as I said last time. There's 2 teams working on the Magical Bridge Playground project, which is fine. You guys are welcome to share transportation to the playground. You also can be there at the same time and both talk to a link at the same time. In fact, that's probably better for her if the 2 teams could coordinate to go at the same time. You can also be there at the same time and maybe talk to kids and parents and stuff like that. So that part you can do together. But as far as projects, each project will be different. Okay, it's not 6 people working on one project. It's 2 teams of 3 working on separate projects. Okay. For your projects, and this includes everybody working on a project, I don't require a lab notebook as other classes do, so forget about that. You may want to keep notes or a diary because at the end you're going to write an individual reflection about your experience with your project, with your teammates, with your community members. So you may want to jot down some notes there. But it's really important for you to take pictures and short videos because it helps document what you do, and it will really help you when you have to do a presentation or write a report. It's really helpful to have those pictures in there because it saves a lot of writing, okay? And it takes up space so you don't have to write. And it really helps people who are the readers to understand what's going on if you have pictures, photos. Okay, things you want to take pictures of, things that illustrate your design process, show your prototypes like this one here. And really important, working with people with disability. If you can take a picture of that, that would be awesome. I'm going to say this every week. Time is your most valuable resource. It's really important to get started early because otherwise all the tasks will pile up at the end. So this is basically, 7 or 8 weeks of work. So you need to distribute your effort throughout the quarter. Okay, so you should be doing stuff every week because every week you have a deadline. Either you're going to be meeting with me to discuss your progress, and maybe that's every 2 weeks, and the intervening weeks you're going to write a very informal progress report. So I expect something from you every week, either to talk to you as a team or to receive a progress report. So this keeps everybody going. I make sure you're on the right track. If I don't hear from you, my first assumption is that you've done nothing the entire week. So that's not what I want. I want to hear from you. I want to know that you're doing stuff. Midterm presentations are 4 weeks from today. So keep that in mind as a deadline. These will be PowerPoint presentations, standing up here 7 minutes. And I'll talk about that some more in the upcoming weeks. On the website, there's all sorts of links and videos and photos from the lectures. All the slides will be up in PDF format. I don't make public the video of the lectures that we're doing unless you miss a class. Okay, so people working on projects that are doing fabrication, it's really important to sign up for the PRL, get going on that. You have to take a safety class and sign up, and it's $60 for a quarter. It's the best $60 you will ever spend at Stanford because you get access to not only the equipment, but 22 TAs who are there to help you with your project. And as we found out last week, several of those TAs have been in this class, so they're very familiar. They're very friendly. They're grad students, so they're about your age, very easy to deal with, and they're there to help you. I'm here to help you. All the community members who you're working on with projects are there to help you. There's the 6 resource people that I introduced last week. They're there to help you. So you have a lot of people on your team. It's not just 3 people. It's me. It's the 22 TAs. It's the community members. All those people are on your team. So make good use of them. Okay? Yep. So I'm very pleased to say that all the 3 credit people have formed teams as of this afternoon. So that's great. I want to ask you how, I had posted stuff on preferences.html with all the people and the projects and stuff. How helpful was that? Can somebody, I see a nod over here. Anybody else? Yes, no, up, down? No, you're not on a team. Everybody else, is that an okay process? Okay, a lot of nods. Okay, so that's what that's what the teams are working on now. So a lot of teams have yet to come up with a cool team name, but I'm expecting them to come up with cool names. So one team who's doing a lap tray came up with a team name that was actually used 2 years ago. Uno, dos, tres. Trays. So, that was really interesting. Okay. Okay. So the other thing is, your team is pretty much self-directed. You decide when to meet with people. You decide what to do. You decide, what to write and present to me. So it's I'm not supervising you every part of the way, but if you need help, just ask, because I've been through this a lot. But you have to maybe get a team organization, figure out who's going to do what, but it shouldn't be such that if you have a team of 3, that one person just does the fabrication, one person just does the writing, and one person just is responsible for the PowerPoint. That's no good. Everybody should be a part of every activity. Okay? So even if you don't know about fabrication and somebody else does, go to the PRL with them, see what they're doing, because you're going to learn something. Okay. For teams working on 3 credit unit projects, you have a budget of $200. You're welcome to spend more, but the excess over $200 comes out of your money. In some cases, Stanford will reimburse you, but in other cases, maybe the community member that you're working with will reimburse you because if they want the prototype that you've produced, it's appropriate that they reimburse you for the parts. Okay? Any questions about all this? Excellent. Well, I want to move on to design process, and I want to say, first of all, that Gail and I have worked together for a long time. I'll introduce him a little bit later. And we both have different kinds of minds. Mine is a more engineering kind of mind, and I've taught this class for a long time, so what you're going to hear from my philosophy is based upon engineering and this class. So the design process is just a way to do things, a step-by-step process that hopefully will increase your chances of success. Okay. There's lots of named design processes out there. Who has been indoctrinated with design thinking? Okay, this may be a little bit different, but I'm sure your young minds are flexible enough to take on some other concepts. Okay. There's no standard for design process. Everyone can be different. There's no design process police going out and saying that you've done it the wrong way. So my view is that there's a lot of activities and in the design process, starting with the problem, which is what I'm going to sort of focus on today. Within the problem, there's about 5 different sub-activities. And the first one is searching for a problem. That's what I do. I go out to the community and I ask people, do you have a problem or challenge that's suitable for a student project? And if so, we can identify one, and then I can write it up as a problem statement that you all saw in the handouts on the first day. And this is what it looks like. I did all that just to prepare you for the next part of the process, which is for you to understand the problem, and Gail's going to be talking a lot more about this. It incorporates not just the user's perspectives, but as much information as you can find about the problem. And that could come from the internet, from catalogs, from other people, and from experts. It's important that you talk to as many people as possible. Find out as much as you can, find out your user's specific background, find out about their disability condition, and there's lots of people that work in this area, including engineers and other folks. There's certainly brothers and family members of the person with a disability that you can talk to and get great insight. There's people that you can find online who are rehab engineers, and there's actually a professional group that if you want to ask 250 people a question about something, I can give you that information on how to do it, and you'll come back with lots of solutions. So these are a couple statements, proverbs, whatever, that I've come across, I've constructed over the years. The user may have a good handle on their problem or challenge, but they may not fully appreciate the benefits and limitations of technology, and that's where you come in, because you have that piece. So you can't count on a particular user to give you all the information. And because each person is a little bit different, has their own preferences and backgrounds and desires and goals in life, what you're doing for that one person may not translate into a product that will solve the problem for 50,000 people. And we're not going to concentrate on commercialization or anything like that. Other places that you could look at published research, articles, other previous student projects, and there's product catalogs, and I think I got some of them listed on the webpage. What products
look online, what products are there,
how do they solve the problem, which ones are most commonly used, what is the standard of care,
because you need to know about these things, because rather than
reinvent what's already out there, you want to
build upon what's already out there. So without knowledge of what's out there, you're not going to be very far ahead. And this is a key insight on my part.
Sometimes, a lot of times, many times, very frequently, almost all the time, the only problem is the lack of awareness of a suitable existing solution. I get people that ask me, well, can you do a project on this? I go on the internet and there's dozens of products already out there. So people, if they're disabled, they may be sort of isolated. They may not know what's out there. They think their problem is unique to them. And so they think, well, I'm going to have to have somebody invent A new product for me.
It's not the case.
If there's solutions out there, why don't they work, other than the fact that you don't know about them? Well, they may be expensive.
They may weigh a lot. They may have reliability issues. They may not fit.
People may not use them for a variety of reasons, including that it doesn't look very good. It may fall apart. And it may be like old technology. But in some cases, old technology is more comfortable for more people. So here's the key issue. Once you have a full understanding of the problem, then you're in a better situation to understand how to solve it. So judge what is needed from this full understanding of the problem that you're going to get. And then you can move on to brainstorming, which I'm not going to talk about. Another issue is you can look for technology that is commercially available that could be applied to your problem. So maybe you find something that you can adapt or modify or use as a part of your solution. That is perfect, because you don't have to, build that part of it. Perfect. And so we're going to talk about today how to interact with users. And we're going to go through a couple exercises. Design features, what's really important that they never tell you is the coolness factor. Everybody wants to look cool, even people with disabilities. So that should be a major part of your design. Okay. And you also need to recognize that you may not be aware of all the benefits of technology, so talk to other people. And you want to interact with your user as you're going through this process. As you're developing prototypes, you want to test them to see what you got right, to see what you got wrong, and that will inform your next prototype. That's the way it works. So the design engineering process, in my mind, is you're doing it yourself. You're not building it because you have a blueprint and somebody else tells you, build this for me. If your user tells you to build that's wrong. You are responsible for all your project decisions, okay, not them. So you can certainly take their input, their feedback, their suggestions and comments, but you're the one that has to analyze that and work on that. You don't want to be making incremental improvements to existing products. Again, be sure to check out the PRL, because they'll help you a lot. And we've got all these other people that can help you. You may even call upon your friends, classmates, people who have taken the course before to help you out. Anything that you can do to make it easier for you is great. So again, it's not a failure if you learn something, so you're going to be building a lot of prototypes that are not going to be working. You need to get past that. You need to know that the first several things you make are not going to work, but it's a necessary requirement that you go through that phase to move beyond that to get to something that will really work well and be really refined. So don't worry about if, I built something and it doesn't work. This means that you need to go through the first part of the process really quick and do lots of prototypes. Avoid getting stuck in one part of the process. Okay, so we've been through all this. The only new things are very few of these design concepts make it to market. So rather than looking at
being successful in the market. We're looking at being successful for the one person you're working with. Fail early, learn from failures, prototype quickly with low-cost materials. It's all obvious to me. Okay. So on Thursday, we're going to hear from Debbie Kenny. She's an occupational therapist. She's going to be bringing along a couple of her students who are stroke survivors and a bunch of technology to show. It ought to be really fun. She's been doing this for 8 or 10 years as well. So, but today we have Gail Curtis sitting right here, soon to be standing up here, another colleague of mine from the VA. So right now we're going to take a short break. If you haven't done so, sign the attendance sheet, which is over here. If you're a community member or a student and haven't picked up that form to fill out, please do that. That's for everybody. And we'll take about 3 minutes. See you in 3 minutes. Thank you. Keep it going.
I'm going to office this weekend. It's like the lowest order I will be gone. And I think, you're going, yeah, you're going to LA, Paul Gate. I am free Friday until like, I'm sorry, I'm free Thursday. I'm free Thursday from 1 hour class.
Grab a table, check out what everybody else wants.
Are you leaving? Are you leaving? I was gonna say, I feel like it's gonna be hard to get everyone. Are you free Friday morning or?
It would have to be
16. I can do that. If that works for you, I can offer that. Okay, perfect. If I meet with her or something too, I can go and check out the playground. I know you've already been there by myself.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is all sides of you guys get there.
Yeah. What you need. Yeah.
Is this for me?
Right, so
Is this for me?
Don't put that next to
you don't know what to scan, like how big they
My backpack. I can put this in here. Okay. And this is just for the recording and not... Okay. Now, okay.
How to work this.
Yeah.
So we need to be totally out of here at 5:50 we should end.
Right.
So I can take a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. So, and if I'm done early, then I'll actually, just sort of ends with the little exercise. So it'll just be a matter of kind of corralling everybody back into.
Okay, let's get back.
Is this yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Need to stand close to you. No, I need to stand close to you.
Oh, so you can be heard on the mic. Okay. Where?
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Okay. Click.
Small slide.
I can start talking though, even though there's no slides.
I gotta introduce you first.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Okay, so the format for these class sessions will be pretty much like we've seen today. I get to talk a little bit of break, and then a guest lecture. Okay.
So Gail's our first guest lecturer. I've known him for ages, probably close to 40 years. We both worked together at the VA. Gail is a user interface design consultant in the Bay Area here, specializing in user interface architecture and design strategy for online ventures and interactive products. Recently, he was the principal interaction designer at Yahoo, which is now Oath, okay? Where he also developed a practice area in strategic ideation and disseminated it through workshops here in the U.S. and Asia. At Stanford, here at Stanford, he taught courses in the Human-Computer Interactions Group and Product Design. And Gail is a proud graduate of the Master's Engineering Product Design program here at Stanford. So let's give Gail a warm Stanford welcome.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And yeah, so kind of what's most relevant is, so I came out of the graduate product design program here, which actually has kind of, kind of like conceptually split off into two things. One is it's actually the theoretical kind of idea background for what has now become the D School. Sort of like all the key ideas from the product design program went over to IDEO, and then they sort of made things work with real products and real people, and came back and they got funded to be what's now the D School. And meanwhile, in the mechanical engineering department, there's a group there that's doing design impact. It's kind of the graduate program. Those people have studio space in the loft, and they have lots of fun. So that's my background. So what I'm coming to here is to ask a question. How many people, so I saw many hands go up around the question of design thinking. So how many people here have, please raise your hands again, had experience with design thinking or another class, and you kind of know what the components of that are, iteration, ideation, that kind of thing. Great. How many people are experienced with the term need finding? Yay. See, I tried to explain to Dave that people know what need finding is, and till this year, this segment was called need finding. So I'm going to talk about need finding, but really the reason we even think about need finding is to understand the problem, to understand the person, to understand what's the situation going on, and to go into a little more depth. So what I want to talk about today, okay, will this click? Okay. All right. I hope it'll work. All right. So this is kind of like the background. So there's sort of like a conceptual model about, working on problems and design problems in particular. And one is that, I'm sure you're familiar with these kind of three bubble diagrams. This is the most pervasive Venn diagram that you'll run into anywhere. And this one in particular, I put together, on the one hand we have the person. We're designing things for people, right? We're not designing parts for the space shuttle or, new telemetry systems or whatever. We're designing things for people. And so it's really important to understand what's going on with the person that we're designing for, if it's just one person, or if it's looking at a larger audience or market, what's going on with those people. Then the other thing is that the problem, so the people have, certain requirements and capabilities and things they can do to solve the problem. Then on the other, kind of pushing off in another direction there's obstacles and limitations that they run into. And then there are, in the bottom, there's certain resources that people and technologies that can get applied. And the main thing to know is that success only comes, where you have a good connection, overlap of all three things. And one thing that sort of came clear to me after a while is that it's really useful to think of these things as vectors. Coming from an engineering background, you know about vectors. There's forces are pulling. How many people actually have heard of this idea of a pattern language? And Christopher Alexander, he was an architect at Berkeley, and he developed this whole big book about architectural design patterns. And that idea sort of got picked up by the software developers as software design patterns. But he would sort of look, and he would find very similar kinds of situations, like in a room, like for a very successful design of a room, there would be light coming in from two different sides. And that basically was a successful pattern. And so he came up with this idea that try to understand the forces acting on the problem. So if you say that someone has a problem, like one of the guys, who's the guy who wants the camera? I saw someone's on the camera. That, sort of like, what are the forces acting on that problem? What's kind of like pushing and pulling? So one thing to think about all these things is that, yes, these are forces that are pulling in different directions, and if we can kind of adjust the forces, adjust, someone's capabilities, add to their capability so that they can pull the solution in that direction, then we can achieve a success. So part of this is really just this is not, we're not solving a math problem that you find this number and then that's going to be it. Then you have to find a number that's that. It's like all these things are kind of like dynamically pulling together. And Dave has tried to, for every problem, list out what's the criteria for what you have to do. But once you start getting in there and work with it, you find that these things are kind of more malleable, more in flux than you might imagine. So anyway, so that's what. The big item, the big takeaway from here is that what you want to learn about the problem is actually that it's a system of forces pushing and pulling. And the important thing to learn is not what's yes or what's no, but how important is it for this thing to be a part of the solution, how important it is for the user, for the person, to have this. If it's not so important, even though it was on the list someplace, then maybe if they could give up on that, then you could actually supply them with this, which would work much better. Let's try it. Nope. Okay. So the second kind of high concept is, there are these ideas, it's sort of like some definition of terms. So one is need finding. You're familiar with that, and for purposes of this talk, I'm just saying the idea of need finding is working to identify, a person's requirements or wishes or aspirations related to a particular task or goal. So to try to understand what's going on with the person. And on the other hand, there's this notion of capability, which is that resources, tools, skills that enable the person to achieve their goal or to reach their goal. And the big concept here is that those two forces are complementary in this sort of yin-yang way, which is that, if the need is big enough, maybe a smaller amount of capability, that they're going to solve that problem, whatever. But if you can combine more capability, that maybe, the subtler needs or requirements can be met also. And one thing that you learn if you look at kind of the technology innovation in the valley around here is that a lot of solutions and innovation comes from some new technology. The capability is advanced. But sometimes the innovation comes from coming to a better understanding of the problem. And that these two things, it's not always improving the technology, it's sometimes understanding the problem better so that you can be working on the parts that really matters. Then the other things, the two things here, one, this notion of context discovery, that is, actually going out and finding out, where is this person trying to do the thing that they're talking about? Who else is around? What kind of equipment or gear or stuff are they using? And, kind of like all the other pieces of the puzzle, what are the things in the picture? And then the last thing, of course, is the assistive technologies that, this is the stuff that you guys are going to do, right, over the next 7 weeks to sort of put it all together. Try it. How many people have seen this diagram before?
Last year.
You don't count, Dave. Sorry. So, here, this is the important thing. See, guys like Dave think, needs, we don't want to think about needs. Having needs is a sign of weakness. There's sort of like that idea that do you really need that, or do you just want it? Or do you just wish you could do that? So one of the first things that we learned in the graduate design program here was no judgment. It's not our job to make a judgment about whether this is a need or a want, or a wish, or an aspiration. They all count from us coming from, to working on design solution. And then when you look at this, you realize that we're all driven by these things. You think about, why do we do anything? At the very top is self-actualization. Some things we do because we want to be all that we can be. That this is really the thing that's driving us. And sometimes it's, the obstacles in the way are, some other needs like, it's not safe to do that thing you want to do. Or, we don't have the right health or the physique to do those things that we want to do. And so it's we're all kind of working with a, kind of like a complex of needs putting together. And so the main thing about looking at a picture like this is that realize that the person that we're designing something for, we're working to solve the problem for, there's a whole complex of needs going on there that are just like us, but they're just like the balance is different. And you talked about something. Anyway, sometimes the thing we want to do, to be cool, right? So everybody wants to be cool. I mean, who doesn't want to be cool, right? So, but what's cool? So I think cool is up here in esteem, right? In the esteem layer, right? And so that's fine. And we don't want to say, well, sorry, I'm only supplying these basic needs for you. And this, I made this gadget that'll help you get along. And sorry, if you want to be cool or you want to realize yourself, we're not going to. That's fluff. We're not going to do that. So I'm thinking as designers, we're looking at, why aren't we looking at, we want to help, we want to enable, develop whatever is needed to enable someone to get to the top of this pyramid. Working for the things that are basically enabling them to be all they can be. Who's got the camera project? I'm thinking about the guy with the camera project. Yeah, you got a camera, I want to kind of like work with my vision, right? I want to have a tool that can sort of enable you to realize a vision about something. And, that's not nothing down here or there, but it's really about doing what I as a human being might want to do. So I would like to, okay, one more. Okay, so last thing, this is the last part of the lecture. 3 things to know about needs. One is, things don't have needs, people do. Now, you might say, well, my camera needs to do this, or my chair needs to do this, or whatever. I mean, that's the way we talk about it. And we want to listen to people as they're talking about it. But then we want to sort of like, well, what is it that you're trying to do when you do that? And what else is going on? Why is this important to you to do this? So, we sort of think about, it's not about the thing, it's about the person. And then the second thing is, well, it's not about the thing, and then it helps to define the need and experience term. So think about, what is the experience, what is the experience of not having the need satisfied? That is, what does it mean when I don't get to be all I can be? Or when I'm not cool? What is the experience of that? And but we want to be able to provide the experience of that, the experience of feeling cool. That's what's important. And it's not about any particular gadget or color or garment or anything. Part of the picture then is also, what about the other people? How are they affected? There's always other people that, in the experience of the person that they have. And then the last thing is actually to know is, watch what happens when people get something that works. Now this is most important when, you try your first prototype with the person. It's not only, David says, well, so I have my role is the first solution tells you more about the problem. So you think you're designing something, put as much as you can in there to help you learn. Should it be this way or that? Should it have this thing or that? Should it do this thing or that? And try to understand what changes, because it often happens. You put something, oh yeah, well that does what I said it should do, but it's really not satisfying. I really wanted to do this other thing, right? So think about what happens when the need gets met and you find out what's really important. Okay, we want to do a little warm-up exercise here. We're going to do a longer exercise in a moment, but this little exercise is about each of you thinking about something from your own experience and making a note of it. So the assignment, the task is, make a note about what it took for you to get here to class today. Did you come from another class? Did you ride your bike? Did you have to park? Did you put on clothes, take off clothes? What did you do? What were all the steps that you went through to get here today? And make a note of that. And there'll be some little discussion at your table about this. And this is all kind of like to tune in, that if you start asking these questions for some other people, you find out that they went through some really different things than you did. So first of all, tune in to what was your experience coming here today. And so make a note, what things were important, why was it important to do that way? You wanted to be cool on that bike or that car, or what tools? You used a bike, used a car, what else? And were there some obstacles that you had to deal with? So take about 5 minutes and please make your own note from your own experience. What did you do? Okay? You will not have to turn this in, but you may be called upon to relay it to someone else.
Do we know if anybody needs a pen? Right out of the back of the evaluation form. But you're going to be turning this in, so.
How long is this exercise?
5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, good. Someone can take note for you. You feel like taking note for you? That would be good. Actually, it would be good to record your experience. Get one. Because It all counts, yes.
This is very helpful. It's good exercise. But you have to do it without the smartphone. For the rest of the...
All right. Oh, cool. I like that. All right. Are you the one with the phone? Are you the one with the camera? No. Okay. Just curious. Well, you can do it. Just play along. It's okay. Okay. Where did I see? Shivani, you're good.
Sure, but you said the one with the camera. You mean the person who wants photography in their life?
Yeah, or wants help
That
with.
was Paul. He's a quadriplegic and he's a motorized chair.
Ah,
He's
cool.
here.
Okay, good. No, I just saw the name on the list and I thought, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
But actually, that's good. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, it may be 3-minute exercise. I think 5 minutes, including the discussion here. So. Okay. It hasn't been 5 minutes, but I bet you have enough to talk about. Does someone like to volunteer what's on their list already? Take a chance. All right, you're on.
Just a list of things I need to get here.
Yeah.
So I brought my jacket. I made some mistake that says,
Okay, hang on. Okay, where were you?
oh, I was in my room.
In your room. Okay, you started in your room. Okay.
I was in my room, put on my jacket, went down and left my plates in the sink, got on my bike, bumped literally into my friend, parked my bike, grabbed a cookie and a sign-up sheet.
Okay, and where did you park?
Right outside.
Okay, and did you lock your bike? Okay. And where was your bike when Mike is outside your room or inside your room?
It was like, yeah, right outside my door.
Okay. Okay, how many people had similar, you might say similar experience doing that? No. That means you had some different experience. So someone with a different experience, would you like to, yeah, can I call on you?
So I was in the key spot and I had both of my jackets off because it was warm inside, so I put them both on because I went outside. Then I boarded here, but I had to hop off my board halfway because they have these steel plates and they're impossible to board over. I had to walk over the plates and then get back on my board. And then I got here, I brought my board inside, sat down, and took my 2 jackets off because it's too warm to take my 2 jackets.
Cool, cool. See, I never imagined people boarding. Okay. Okay, anybody else board?
Oh,
No, you, go.
well, I was attending a seminar that's supposed to end at 5 o'clock, but I have to leave soon.
Uh-huh.
It's at the quad. So I was in a hurry to get here for 4:30. And as I heard many people complain about the traffic, I almost got run over by a biker when I crossed from one side to here. But I know I'm slower than a biker, so I just let him bike by.
Right.
And I guess that's my obstacle coming here.
Okay. Let's see. One more. Someone have something that was really different that you did. Haven't heard from anybody that took a car. Yeah, cool.
So I live here, my workplace, and the obstacle for me was finding a building because I've never taken this car. So that was
How did you find it?
So I had to ask someone, and it was Google, just by the front of the building.
So, 2 technology interventions there, right? But the one, the Uber, one of the Google, already, yeah. So, what about you guys? Anybody over here you want to chime in? Yeah, go.
Sure. I just came from an appointment off campus in Menlo Park, so I drove here. Had to find parking each time because a little bit because I drove around campus a few times. And then parked by the Oval, walked over here, put in my AirPods, all the way over here. Gave some instructions over the class quarter of it.
Cool, okay. Anybody else eager to speak? What? No. I don't want to put you on the spot. Your time will come. Your time will come. Hang on. So, one thing actually. So the main, one point of this exercise is that we think, things that we happen that we do every day. We think, oh, everybody does about the same thing. But especially when but then you can realize there's a whole range of difference, and we're just talking about, other students that we know that are doing, boarding or biking or driving. But when you're talking about a person with different abilities and using different technologies, then the range of difference becomes much larger. And so one thing that we want to know is, like, how do we find out what's really going on with the person that's, maybe trying to do something that's very obvious, but then we need to kind of dig into it. So, let's see. Well, first of all, what we want to learn is about what's this person trying to do, want to have to do, and why is it important? And the why is really, it's kind of like the values. What's around, getting to cool. Why you boarded here? Why did you board and not bike or walk?
Is this a real question I'm supposed to
Yes.
Okay. Because I take the Caltrain, and it's too annoying to, bring my bike on the Caltrain. I'd rather just bring my board.
Cool. All right. And so it's a convenience thing, as well as, of course, it's more cool, right? But then, if we're trying to find out what this person is doing, or why did they? We were sort of like helping them divine some assistive technology for what they're doing. We want to know more about really what's going on with why are they doing what they're doing, and instead of saying no, well, don't worry about that, just take your bike. That's not, from a designer's point of view, that's not what we're doing. We want to look and see where that goes. And the other thing we want to learn is, how do people solve the problem? What are they doing to solve the problem? And what kinds of obstacles or constraints or deficiencies do they have to deal with? So these are the things that is useful to learn from the person that we're talking to the other person to understand need. And so this is all kind of, I would say, under the umbrella of need finding, right? These different techniques. And so there's sort of a whole raft of stuff that if you go into the D-School literature, and there's some links on there, some other kind of what we might call user research techniques that are used. But the most important are sort of the most elementary, which are interview, we talk to people, and observation, and we watch what they do. And then, of course, the third thing is, we make stuff. We make stuff, and we're in here to make stuff, right? So make stuff. Let them see it. Let them try it, and kind of learn from what they do, because it's people will say something. I really want to do this. I need to do this. But when you see them actually doing it, you may find out it's something different. Then what? Then we apply. We do all this stuff: interview, observation, prototyping. We apply the critical thinking skills to, look at the facts and the assumptions and the inferences about it. And of course, then we do the design thinking, because that's kind of what we, a process that we believe can yield a good result. Iterate, ideate, explore lots of ideas, sketch them out either physically or on, two-dimensionally, three-dimensionally, build things, test things, iterate. This is what we've kind of learned over the decades here in the Stanford Design Program. And a lot of other places, they may call it, they call it different. But in the academic world, you can't just say, oh, I'm doing what the Stanford people did. They have to give it different names, but they put up a list of these different methodologies. But a lot of them were actually provoked by, oh, those Stanford people are doing this design thinking thing. We got to have a different name for what we're doing, and in order for our papers to get accepted. But it's all kind of prompted about this: build stuff and test it and iterate and see what you learn every time. And at the foundation of that is try to understand what are the people trying to do. So when we're interviewing, interviewing will be part of what you're doing. You're working on a team with a project that comes from a person. So you want to be able to, you need to talk to them. And the main tips that have come out of the kind of like the field study is avoid leading questions about why did you, turn that thing up to a 7? I thought it was supposed to go to an 8. No. Where were you going to, how are you going to do it? And also ask them to show you what's going on rather than just tell you about it. The advantage is we get information directly from the person. We not only we can see what they want, see what they're trying to do, but also we can sort of get why is it important that it be, the whole thing of the coolness factor. People won't mention, that it makes me feel strong. It makes me feel like I can do this. There's all these sort of solar dimensions, which are sort of like higher level needs on the pyramid that are subtle to kind of bring out. But they'll start talking about why was it important for it to be done this way. And the downside is, of course, it's time intensive, and time intensive is skill intensive. You have to be careful about generalizing what you do. And also, as I think I just mentioned, people say one thing, but they actually will do something different. So the second fundamental technique for need finding is observing. So just watch what happens. So look at everybody that's got a project, they're doing something. They got something that they're working with right now. They're trying to meet their requirements with something or some gadget or some kludge thing, whatever it is. Observe what they're actually doing and make something that's kind of like approximate. And also be there. Be in the place where they're trying to solve the problem. And often this will mean actually going into their home, I saw one of them, it was an adaptation in a house or a home in San Francisco. There's no substitute for seeing the actual thing, rather than relying upon, I got this thing at home and I have to do this. What you want is supply your sharp, Stanford engineering design eye to the situation, the people, and take notes and bring all your capabilities to bear. And then, of course, which sort of means shadow what they're doing. Don't try to intervene. Don't try to say, oh, wait, here, let me help you with that. No, you can just, base thing is, again, you're just kind of watching. They're used to doing what they do. So watch what they do. Watch when the things fail. Watch when it drops on the ground. How do they deal with that? And the two big things are, what are the resources that they use to get the job done, and what are the main hindrances in the way. Okay, so this is all kind of leading up to an exercise that we'll spend several, 10 minutes at least with form groups in your around your table or with somebody else and talk to either someone at your table or one of the community people that are here, maybe the people here that are related to the project, and talk to them about their experience of coming here today. And, going into more detail and, asking them, basically find somebody that's the most different from what you thought your difference was and see what you find out. And then at the end of the session, we'll compare notes there. Any question about that? You can just form a group at your table, but it'd be good actually to talk to somebody that's not like you. Somebody where you can get a good experience. And you can go ahead and, I didn't get your name. Jerry. So why don't you guys sit over here with this? Why don't you guys come over here and join this group? Talk to Jerry about his story. Get his story. You guys. And too bad we lost this guy, at least for now.
I think they're coming back. I think he just had to go to the restroom. So.
Okay, if he comes back, then yeah, talk to him, because he's going to be a good story. So you guys figure out a way to do this? Okay, you got it. Oh, you're just... Wait, you guys look so forlorn. Okay. So are you just talking among yourselves? What are you going to do?
No, we just started, we're just deciding who's going to be first.
Okay, who can be grilled. Okay. All right, good. Because I think I'll probably ask for like little sample reports from various people. So think about the most interesting story that you might want to tell.
It's not looking very interesting so far, but we'll work on it.
See what you get. See what you can do. Okay. All right. How are you guys doing?
He rides a bike.
So.
She speeds on her bike.
So figure out who wants to be the focus of the in-depth interview, and try to see how many questions you can ask. See how much you can find out. Like, what color? Why is that bike? Where did you walk? Did you have to wear special shoes because it was muddy or something? I don't know.
Rain boots.
That's what you want to know. Rain boots. See, there you go. All right. We already heard your story, but you can.
They're interviewing me.
They're interviewing him. Okay. Good.
And have to special.
Yep, exactly. You get it. Yeah, it's definitely more convenient to look for.
So, do you know that you're going to be you're the focus of the interview?
Yes.
You get to be the star of the table.
Yes, I am usually the star of every big class.
Okay, well, please.
People fight over me for.
All right, please go ahead.
One of the Bay Area parking spots. And those, so I have to select where I park. And sometimes we gotta make those.
Goes out.
So, I'm thinking have to at some point have them pick one person to sort of make notes of the main things they learned from this observation, and then have like about 3 of them give a report.
Okay, well, you have 8 minutes.
8 minutes, yeah. Well, that's good. So, in another 2 minutes.
Okay.
Unless you think that's too much.
This woman over here, Olga, she's in the master's product design, which is now called Design Impact.
Right.
And I'm actually thinking about having a dual theme next year, and one of the themes would be assistive technology.
Cool. Where design impact, where design impact.
I'm the only one who knows anything about assistive technology.
Oh no, but they're smart people. They can learn anything.
Yeah, they can assimilate anything else.
Yeah.
I know a little bit of Polish. I lived
we'd like to maybe, if one of you could make a few notes about some new things that you learned from interviewing this guy, and that you can do it with like give a 45-second report in a few minutes. Oral report. Yeah, just say, the main thing we learned is this and this and this. Fight amongst yourself about who's going to do that. So, I would like someone to sort of volunteer to make a little note of like 3 or 4 things you learned by interviewing this guy about it was like surprising or different. And we're going to do like a little 45-second recap. Fight amongst yourself about who's going to stand up and do that. Okay, hi. So, so if one of you can volunteer to make a little list of like 3 or 4 or 5 things you learned that were different from doing this exercise, that you could report that. So figure out who wants to stand up. Okay, so you're the designer.
I am, yes.
Okay.
Do you want to take a seat?
No. So I want to have, so one of you make a little list of the 3 or 4 or 5 things you learned that was different from doing this, and report that within the hour. Okay, we're almost done. We're not done here. What I like is one of you to sort of volunteer to make up a list of 3 or 4 or 5 things that you learned from doing this exercise that you can share with the rest. Okay? Like 30-second report. Okay. One of you maybe volunteer to make a list of 3 or 4 or 5 things you learned from doing this exercise that you can share in 30 seconds. Okay? That we'll do right now. Okay? Sorry, we're going to wrap up. So one of you maybe volunteer to make a list of 3 or 4 or 5 things you can share in a little 30-second report. Okay? All right. Dave says our time is up. So let's start with you. Okay, time, please. Why don't we start with you guys? Are you ready? So the drill is what are the 3 or 4 or 5 new things that you might maybe learn by doing this exercise? Okay, this table, please.
When Biker went really fast, and well, that's a general problem that we find. Lots of interactions.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, what about you guys? Interesting tip that came out of the interview.
So we were talking about how we got here. We uses a combination of a bike and public transport, and usually that involves biking from his home to the bus station, and then bike ride, like securing it, like when he gets to his destination, unsecuring it. He usually, once he got here, he parks his bike and locks it using a combination lock, so a key lock, and what else did we talk about? So sometimes the bus drivers are very friendly, so given how frequently he uses public transport, sometimes he's good friends with a lot of the bus drivers, but sometimes they tend to be a little irate and they don't get, or like the bus drivers don't want to talk much, so yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Those are good advice. Okay, thank you.
Was a little bit more about the why. So and her why to be here was to bring back a little bit of what she's learned and the spirit of working a little bit more on one-on-one with people rather than in tech terms. That's about what she did mention in my classroom. They do have a periodic class with kids with disabilities and do some activities together. So it's somewhat of an interesting relationship.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. That was good.
broken, and so he almost got into another bike accident. And so some constraints for coffee and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good story. Okay, what about you guys?
Situation, because he hasn't had a bike for a while, but it's pretty heavy and he doesn't like it a lot. So he's been looking for a longboard because he's tired of being late to class. And when we investigated that goal that he had, I was trying to find any longboard because in the morning when he wakes up, he has to miss his morning classes because he wakes up soon. So some of the constraints are not having to be in class on time.
Okay, I don't know what we can do about that, but we'll, great. So what's that?
So we talked to Danny, and he said that the way that he got here today was in a van, and there's a ramp that goes into the van where his chair gets secured, and then he said that getting into the van takes no time at all.
Okay. One more. Did we get to hear from you guys? Okay. Ooh. Time's up. Okay.
Well, let's thank Gail for... Kevin signed